Listen, I didn't ask to get kidnapped by some Dexter wannabe and his 7 dwarves, but I was. And we can't talk about that right now because before I can tell my story, I have to tell Max's and Noah's, and why, for some stupid reason, we ended up in this whole situation. So here we go, and the mistakes, those were totally Max's fault, so don't blame me. Max looked down at the now dead woman clutching his shirt and sighed. Listen, lady, don't you know blood is a bitch to clean out of clothes? He tossed the woman's hand off of him, stepping over her corpse. He ran a hand over his eyes, groaning as he smeared the blood covering his hand onto his cheeks. The grease paint he used as a mask was starting to smudge, and security would be arriving any moment. Fantastic. Max looked to the door, the window, and the ceiling. Perfect, he muttered, tucking his dagger into the sheath on his thigh and running to the large window across the office. Glancing back to make sure no one was coming and checking for witnesses below, he jumped. You're late, Oliver pointed out, not bothering to look up from his laptop. Yeah, sorry, there were a lot of people on the underground today. Missed the first train. Dumb shit like that. Lie? He had to wash the blood off his face and stuff his blood-soaked shirt in his backpack. Max snorted. What's so funny? Oliver narrowed his eyes, staring accusingly into Max's violet ones. Nothing. Just thinking of the businesswoman begging at my feet. He winked, as if he weren't referencing the businesswoman who had, hours earlier, been clutching at his shirt hem, begging for mercy. He'd slit her throat. Right, you have so many of those. Go make dinner, you asshole. It had been clear that Max would be the only one ever cooking meals when Oliver had set fire to a napkin in the microwave. Max saluted, going to toss his bag of weapons and gear into his room, ignoring the clinking of the blades as they landed harshly on his floor. Max stood in the front of the oven with a pose of elegance, humming quietly as he stirred the vegetables in the pan below. He didn't need a roommate per se, but Oliver was a good cover-up, even if it was annoying to have to hide all of his gear in the ceiling and floorboards of his closet. However, if the police somehow caught wind that he may be the assassin taking down all the biggest CEO corporates in the city... Damn it, Max, why do you use such big words? Olivia? Yeah, Olivia would be there to confirm his alibi. Handy, huh? Lost in thought, the teen didn't notice as his hand slowly drifted into the flames, and hissed when he felt the burn of artificial fire. His roommate looked up from his spot on the couch, and checked to make sure Max wasn't dying or on fire, and went back to typing when he realized neither was happening. Thanks for the concern, Max called out, to no one in particular, turning on the faucet to hold his hand under the cool water. This was, in no way, the worst of the wounds he had received, but burns were his least favorite. Attempting to stir with his right hand and hold his left under the running water, he realized just how difficult it was to do things with a non-dominant hand. After 5 torturous minutes, the assassin gave up and turned the stove off, calling it good. He flicked the last rolling drops off his hand, grabbing a towel to pull the taco shells he had tossed into the oven to heat. Oi, Ollie, get off your fat ass and grab a few plates, will you? His voice was laced with mocking tones, something he only really did with Oliver. They had been roommates for nearly 2 years, the first of which Max managed to keep that he was 3 years younger than the other a secret. Oliver padded into the kitchen with his glasses pushed up into his hair to hold it back, and reached over Max's annoyingly short head to grab the plates from the top shelf, laughing at Max's irritated expression. Listen, it's not my fault you're 5'6", okay? He teased. Oliver ducked in to the left in an attempt to dodge Max's punch, but only moved his chest more into the lane of fire. Ow, okay, Jesus, obviously someone isn't in a good mood today. Max just glared at the other. The only sign he wasn't really mad were his warm eyes. Set the damn plates down and make your tacos. The early hours of the morning were Max's training hours. He'd spend hours throwing knives, doing ridiculously hard workouts, and cleaning his gear. Unfortunately, his boss had other ideas. He called at 3 a.m., waking Max and his cat, both glaring at the phone by his bed. He answered groggily, not used to being awake for another hour. The only response was a time, date, name, and the amount of money he would receive. For some reason, the name sounded respectably familiar, yet Max couldn't quite pinpoint why. He scooted his cat off his chest, setting her on his pillow and ignoring her betrayed look. He had to do some research, despite how much he wished he could be in bed with Jasmine. Her purring only made his jealousy of the snowy white kitten grow. Stumbling over to the desk on the left corner of his room, Max turned on his laptop and waited for it to boot it up. Tapping his fingers on the mouse, he squinted at the bright screen, feeling as if a light of 1,000 suns had somehow made its way to his eyes. Noah Turner, assistant of Jane Corey, tech producer for company Electro. Objective, take him out. Max looked down at his notes and nodded in satisfaction, mapping out the corridors of Noah's office floor. It dawned on him then that Noah Turner was his only friend in elementary school. He swallowed what felt like a boulder in his throat, continuing his drawing as he switched to pretending that the little feeling he didn't have exists. He took a deep breath and began changing to more appropriate gear. His black jeans and boots came first, strapping the sheath of his favorite dagger onto his thigh. He then strapped 4 throwing knives to his chest and slipped a baggy black t-shirt on, not wanting anything to show while he was trying to get in. Dipping his fingers into the grease paint, he smeared it into his mask shape around his face, calling it good, when the only way he'd be recognizable was the 2 piercings on his lip. Max shrugged on his leather jacket, striding to his window. Noah. Max spoke from behind the boy, who had seemingly fallen asleep at his desk. Said asleep boy jumped, turning around like a scared child. Max was spinning a dagger around on his fingers, flipping it haphazardly around his thumb. I'm supposed to kill you. Want to let me know why? Excuse you? Who the are you? I'm calling the police. Noah reached for the phone on his desk, only for his hand to be nearly cut off by the flying blade. Can't let you do that. You know how it is. Now tell me, why are you on the kill list? What'd you do? Steal millions from the poor? Dump oil in the lakes? Run a mafia? Come on now, spill. He had moved forward with every word, until he was inches from the other. What are you talking about? I'm just an errand boy. Clearly you've lost your mind. Are your eyes purple? No, they're red. Yes, they're purple, dipshit. I don't see why this is important. I want to know why some kid is on my hit list. Max? Noah's eyebrows furrowed. Try again. That freako died years ago. Max sighed, done with the useless chatter. Sorry about this in advance. Max cleared his throat and clocked Noah in the jaw. The boy dropped like a dead body, which he wasn't, thank you, into Max's arms. The assassin pretended he didn't know just how much trouble he could bring him to himself by kidnapping the CEO's assistant instead of killing him. He was useful for things Max needed to do. Illegal things. Okay, now that we're done with Max's boring story, and not even well written, I had to change a bunch of it, we can get on to Noah's, which is slightly more better, but come on, let's be real. Mine is so much more entertaining and depressing, but still. Anyway, I forgot to tell you, my name's Malacai, and I was the daughter of a king who's now dead, thanks to Max. But anyway, I'll see you guys next week. Maybe, if I don't die.